Sometimes it's hard even for me to fully digest what all of us have accomplished here in a liberal faith community in Salt Lake City, and how we keep dreaming about fulfilling the many tasks that lie ahead. I think that this church has historically created a spirit that continues to guide us in our focus on the other. I feel the August Comte thing, the religion of humanity. I feel that religion, that kind of religion, just pulsating here in this congregation more than I've ever experienced in any other community in which I've been affiliated. We understand completely and respond fully to the hope expressed by Terry Tempest Williams. In fact, that's our theme for this year, a theme that's not just going to evaporate once the calendar goes to a new page. She told us, and remember she was our feature during the auction. Terry Tempest Williams said, "The eyes of the future are looking back at us, and they're praying for us to see beyond our own time." Isn't that a magnificent image? The eyes of the future are looking back at us, and they are praying for us to see beyond our own time. Now, if I had to characterize this congregation in a sentence, it would be that we see beyond our time. And let me add one important distinction. Not only do we see, but we act. We are activists for changing things as they are because we see beyond our own time. We have worked for peace in the world, from Desert Storm to the present. We've articulated the moral voice in providing dignity and civil rights for the LGBTQ community. We were the first Unitarian Universalist church in the nation to divest our investments from fossil fuels, and the second church to sign up on the new sanctuary movement in support of undocumented workers. We're protecting open spaces with our bodies to prevent fracking from destroying these beautiful public lands. We work tirelessly for others, resettling refugees, tutoring Title I children, prison reform, protecting those without a voice by striving for Medicaid expansion, voter registration, and of course, opposing virtually everything that the Utah legislature supports. We don't want to be difficult. It's just that the legislature, have you noticed, they're looking back. They're looking back in time. They want to bring something from the past to the present, which just is not going to work. And we are very much forward-looking. The reason that I think we are feeling a modicum of success for the future as well as for the present is because we teach our children in our Sunday school classrooms a whole lot about being less preoccupied with the self, with a much deeper focus on the other. And for the boys in our Sunday school class, we offer remedial classes to help them catch up with their compassion and generosity. They'll get it in time. Let me just say a few things about pledging, which we do infrequently in this church. But if not now, when? To those of you who are what I call drive-by worshipers, who will never join because you're too busy, but you like to visit occasionally for the music and inspiration, please, this year, make a pledge. A reasonable pledge, because you know it's invaluable to have this church around here in Salt Lake City. And our ongoing church community cannot keep the doors of the church open without the help of those who visit even infrequently. Take, for example, just our utility costs alone. Our utility cost for a year will probably stagger everyone here. $38,350. And that's with solar panels and the Reverend Scrooge denying heat to those who want to grow orchids. To those of you who attend regularly on Sundays only and are not members for a variety of reasons, that's fine. But I cannot comprehend why some of you do not pledge at all. We love having you here. I love having you here. But in terms of the social science research into individual commitments to group survival, this group will not survive without your financial commitment. Now, you may come here for the music, and you'd be crazy not to. But let me tell you that to provide music every Sunday, the cost of our music program per Sunday is $1,635 every week. Now, we can have fun even going further and deeper into detail. For example, I figured out that for each for each hymn that we sing, it's about 50 cents a word. Except for Spirit of Life, which is so short, that's about $1 a word. That's why I'm a little hesitant to sing that too often. Doesn't that make you want to sing louder, for heaven's sake? Of course, I think the UUA should be paying us for singing some of their hymns, but that's another matter entirely. To those of you who have the means, but dismiss the serious commitment needed to support this church by writing, let's say, just a one-time check on Celebration Sunday, we obviously thank you and do not wish to appear ungrateful. I merely ask you to please consider that the average annual pledge in this church is $1,800. Now, not everyone can achieve that. That's why I say it's the average pledge. But consider this. Rather than turning in, writing a check for $500 and turning it in today as a means of fulfilling an obligation, perhaps you can consider your giving potential for the course of a year and make a pledge that your wife or mother or sister or daughter believes to reflect more accurately the generosity of your spirit. And to those of you who are struggling, and I'm thinking mostly of young families just starting out, here's a suggestion. As I go around and greet the congregation during the offering, I sometimes catch a glimpse of what you're throwing into the plate. Now, I do not consciously try to keep tabs on that. I've just been cursed with this fabulous peripheral vision, and so I just get a peek at it. Now, sometimes I see young folks who I know do not have very much throw in a crisp $5 bill, sometimes a $10 bill, and I am truly moved by their generosity. I only suggest that they fill out a pledge card for that same amount so that the church can make a sensible budget planning according to how much they expect to receive. And at the same time, you get a tax break as well. And to those of you who give much already, thank you. Thank you very much. I will confess that I could give more, and maybe that applies to a lot of people here. Right now, I give in excess of 5% of my gross annual salary. And so, of course, I can't help but wonder that if I had a sister, I might be tithing. That would... It's time for all of us to imagine the future looking back at us. And this future is praying that we have the fortitude to see beyond our time, and that we invest generously, with all our hearts, in shaping a more just and peaceful and sustainable world for the next generation. We live in a time of crisis and, to a large degree, a time of absurdity. Let me tell you the last absurd thing that I just heard yesterday, read it in the New York Times. The organizers of the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York want to ban gays because homosexuality is against their religion. They say America is about religious freedom. Tell you another absurd thing, a frightening prospect. Utah legislators here on the Hill make reference to the BLT community. And I say, no, marriage equality is not about bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes. And no, God has not put out a press release hostile to gays. In fact, I believe that God thinks that everyone can be Irish. Just a little twig of green, everyone can be Irish. No exceptions. Quite frankly, the reason I support this church is because it has become increasingly difficult in this hostile world, increasingly difficult, perhaps for you too, to live my life values. It has become increasingly difficult to find opportunities to relate meaningfully to others with compassion. And when you separate people from their values, they lose a sense of meaning and integrity. They start feeling helpless. So this church not only validates our values, it implores us to exercise them. The values of compassion and service and respect for life are innate. And we have created an institution here that breathes life into this notion of the religion of humanity, an unselfish regard for the welfare of others. And your children and my children experience a place here where words of compassion become flesh, are made real and vital. We simply cannot afford to let this church merely limp along. The eyes of future Unitarians who will someday come to fill these pews where you now sit, they will look back at us, and hopefully they will think of us as people who are able and capable to see beyond our times, and that we supported this institution that carried us forward from today to tomorrow, that tomorrow that they will inherit, and they will be grateful that they have something strong, a real core of beliefs and values that they then can continue to spread to this community in Salt Lake City.